In a remote canyon along the Salmon River in western Idaho, archaeologists have just unearthed something that has sent a massive shockwave through the entire scientific world. For decades, the history books have told us a very specific story about how the first humans arrived in the Americas. We were taught that about 13,000 years ago, a group of brave explorers crossed a land bridge from Siberia into Alaska and slowly moved south as the great ice sheets began to melt. This was the Clovis First theory, the holy grail of American archaeology. But then, a discovery at a site called Cooper's Ferry changed everything. Beneath layers of sediment and ancient river stones, researchers found stone tools, charcoal, and animal remains that date back over 16,000 years. This isn't just a few centuries off the mark. This discovery pushes the timeline of human arrival in the Americas back by thousands of years. And more importantly, it suggests that these people didn't come by land at all. They arrived by sea, navigating a coast that was supposed to be impassable. Idaho, a landlocked state, hundreds of miles from the Pacific, has just revealed a secret that rewrites the origin story of an entire continent. To understand why this is such a big deal, you have to realize how firmly the old theory was rooted in our minds. For over 80 years, any scientist who suggested that humans were in the Americas before the Clovis people was often met with intense skepticism, or even ridicule. The Clovis researchers relied on a distinct type of spear point found across North America, but the tools found at Cooper's Ferry are different. They aren't Clovis points. Instead, they share a striking resemblance to tools found halfway across the world, on the island of Hokkaido in Japan. This suggests a direct connection across the Pacific that predates the melting of the glaciers. We are looking at a maritime migration, a group of people who possessed incredible seafaring skills and the courage to travel thousands of miles along a rugged, ice-chilled coastline. Imagine the scene 16,000 years ago. The world was gripped by the tail end of the last ice age. Massive glaciers, miles high, covered much of northern North America. According to the old theory, these ice sheets acted as a wall, preventing any movement from the north to the south. But the people at Cooper's Ferry proved that the wall didn't matter if you had a boat. By traveling along the Kelp Highway, the nutrient-rich waters along the Pacific coast, these early explorers could have moved south rapidly, find plenty of food in the form of fish and marine mammals, and eventually find their way inland via major river systems like the Columbia and the Salmon. This is exactly where Cooper's Ferry is located, at the junction of two great migratory paths. It was a perfect home, a place of abundance in a world otherwise locked in ice. When the lead archaeologist, Lauren Davis, and his team first started digging at the site, they didn't expect to overturn nearly a century of settled science. They were looking for evidence of early life, but as they went deeper and deeper into the earth, the radiocarbon dating started coming back with numbers that didn't make sense within the old framework. 15,000 years, then 15,500, over 16,000 years old. The team knew they had to be incredibly meticulous. In the world of archaeology, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. They mapped every single flake of stone, every fragment of bone, and every speck of charcoal with millimeter precision. They weren't just finding old stuff. They were finding an undisturbed record of an ancient life that shouldn't have existed. One of the most fascinating things about the Cooper's Ferry site is the true origin revealed by the stone tools. Archaeologists look at the way stone is flaked and shaped, a process called lithic technology. It's like a cultural fingerprint. The people at Cooper's Ferry used a very specific technique to create stemmed points. These points are remarkably similar to those produced by the late Pleistocene cultures of Japan, known as the Jomon, or the Tachikawa culture. This similarity isn't just a coincidence. It indicates a shared technological heritage. If the first Americans were using tools that looked like they came from Japan 16,000 years ago, it strongly suggests that the origin of Native American ancestors is far more complex and maritime-based than we ever imagined. But why Idaho? If people were traveling by sea, why did they end up hundreds of miles inland? The Salmon River is the key. During the Ice Age, the river valleys were the highways of the interior. While the high plateaus were cold and windswept, the river canyons offered a milder climate and a steady supply of fresh water and food. Cooper's Ferry would have been an ideal spot. It's a natural terrace overlooking the river, providing a vantage point to watch for game and easy access to the water. The discovery of fire pits and food remains shows that this wasn't just a temporary camp. People lived here. They built fires. They crafted tools. And they shared meals. They were making a home in a new world, thousands of years before the glaciers even began to retreat. As the news of the Idaho discovery spread, the global scientific community began to re-examine other sites that had previously been dismissed. In Chile, a site called Monte Verde had also produced dates around 14,500 years, but many researchers had or ignored it because it didn't fit the Clovis first model. Now, with Cooper's Ferry providing a solid anchor in the north 16,000 years ago, the entire Pacific coastline of the Americas is being viewed in a new light. It wasn't a barrier, it was a corridor. This changes our view of early humans from land-bound hunters of big game like mammoths and mastodons, to sophisticated maritime explorers who understood the cycles of the ocean and the rivers. Think about the technical skill required for such a journey. Navigating the North Pacific is dangerous, even with modern equipment. These early travelers would have needed boats that were sturdy enough to handle the swells, but light enough to be repaired easily. They would have needed a deep knowledge of celestial navigation and the behavior of marine life. It shows that human curiosity and the drive to explore are much older and more powerful than we previously thought. Navigating a frozen world to find a valley in Idaho that felt like home. The true origin of these people also opens up incredible new avenues for genetic research. If the tool technology points toward Japan, scientists are now racing to see if ancient DNA can confirm this link. We are beginning to see a picture of multiple waves of migration into the Americas. The Idaho site is a vital piece of this puzzle. It shows that the history of the Americas isn't a single straight line, but a complex web of migrations, adaptations, and incredible human endurance. The Salmon River site has become a beacon for a new era of American history, one that recognizes the deep and ancient roots of the continent's inhabitants. But there's more to the Cooper's Ferry discovery than just tools and dates. The team also found evidence of how these people interacted with the environment. They found the remains of extinct animals, providing a glimpse into an ecosystem that has long since vanished. The soil itself holds clues to the climate of the time, showing that the Salmon River Valley was a refuge of life in a cold world. The people living there were part of a vibrant, changing landscape. They weren't just survivors, they were thrivers. They were masters of their environment, utilizing everything the river and the canyon had to offer. What does this mean for the future of archaeology? It means we have to stop looking only where we think people should have been, and start looking where they could have been. The success at Cooper's Ferry has encouraged archaeologists to look deeper into river sediment and ancient terraces across the West. We are realizing that much of the evidence of early human life might be buried much deeper than we previously thought, or even submerged under the ocean as sea levels rose when the ice melted. The Idaho site is just the beginning. It has cracked open the door to a lost world, and who knows what else is waiting to be found in the mud of our ancient rivers. The emotional weight of this discovery is also significant. For the local indigenous tribes, such as the Nez Perce, who have lived in the area for generations, the scientific confirmation of their ancient presence is a powerful moment. Their oral traditions have often spoke of being on the land since time immemorial. For a long time, Western science was at odds with these traditions, insisting on a much shorter timeline. But now the dirt is confirming what the elders have always said. The people have been here for a very, very long time. Cooper's Ferry represents a bridge between ancient oral history and modern scientific inquiry, showing that both can lead us to the truth. The logistics of the dig were also a feat of endurance. The team spent years in the hot sun and the wind of the Idaho Canyon, carefully brushing away layers of dust. They had to deal with the challenges of a remote location, transporting equipment and supplies through rugged terrain. But the passion for discovery kept them going. Every time a new tool emerged from the ground, it was a reminder that they were touching the hand of someone who lived 16,000 years ago. That connection across time is what makes archaeology so compelling. It's not just about rocks and bones. It's about the human story. This discovery also highlights the importance of protecting our archaeological heritage. Sites like Cooper's Ferry are incredibly fragile. A single flood, or an act of vandalism could destroy thousands of years of history in an instant. The fact that this site remained undisturbed for so long is a miracle. It serves as a reminder that we are the guardians of the past. By protecting these sites, we ensure that future generations can continue to learn about where they came from and the incredible journey that led us to where we are today. Looking at the stemmed points found in Idaho, you can see the artistry and the intent. These weren't just functional objects. They were the result of a refined tradition passed down through generations. The person who made those points had to understand the properties of the stone, the physics of the impact, and the requirements of the hunt. Humans were just as intelligent and creative as we are today. The Idaho discovery has also forced a re-evaluation of the ice-free corridor theory. If people were already in Idaho, 16,000 years ago, they couldn't have come through the corridor because it didn't exist yet. The ice sheets were still locked together. This is the smoking gun for the coastal migration theory. If the land route was closed, the only way into the continent was by sea. This realization is a massive paradigm shift. It changes everything about how we look at early human movement across the globe. We are seeing a world where the oceans were not barriers, but highways for a seafaring species. The story only gets more interesting. Every chemical signature in the charcoal, every microscopic wear pattern on the stone tools tells a story. We can see what kind of wood they burned, what animals they processed, and how they moved through the landscape. We are building a high-definition picture of a life lived 16 millennia ago. It is a story of resilience, innovation, and an unbreakable bond with the natural world. The Salmon River site has given us a window into our own deep past, and the view is breathtaking. What happened to the people of Cooper's Ferry? They didn't just disappear. They were the ancestors of the vibrant cultures that would eventually spread across the entire continent. Their DNA, their technology, and their stories flowed into the great river of American history. By finding this site, we are reconnecting with the very beginning of that river. We are seeing the fountainhead of human life in the Americas. It is a humbling and awe-inspiring realization. We are all part of a story that is much older and much more profound than we ever dreamed. The fact that the tools look like they came from Japan also suggests a level of global connectivity that is startling. While the continents were separated by oceans, the human spirit of exploration was already building bridges. We are seeing the first chapter of a global story, a story of movement and meeting. The Idaho site proves that the history of America is, and has always been, a global story. It is a story of people coming together from across the world to build something new in a new land. As the sun sets over the Salmon River Canyon today, the wind still howls through the sagebrush, just as it did 16,000 years ago. The river still flows, carving its path through the stone, and the Cooper's Ferry site remains, hidden in the layers of the earth, a silent witness to the beginning of everything. The archaeologists have finished their work for the season, but the discovery will live on in the history books and the classrooms for decades to if not centuries. We have found our roots, and they go deeper than we ever thought possible. But the work isn't done. Scientists are now looking at other river systems in the Pacific Northwest, hoping to find more sites like Cooper's Ferry. If there was one settlement, there were likely many. We are on the verge of discovering a whole network of ancient sites that will further clarify the true origin of the first Americans. Each new find will add more detail to the map, more depth to the story. We are in the middle of a golden age of American archaeology, and Idaho is the center of it all. The Cooper's Ferry discovery also teaches us about climate change. The people there lived through the end of an ice age. They saw the glaciers melt, the sea levels rise, and the environment transform around them. Their ability to adapt to these massive shifts is a lesson for us today as we face our own environmental challenges. They didn't just survive the change, they moved with it, finding new ways to live and thrive. Their story is a testament to the flexibility and the strength of the human species. Technological advances like LiDAR and improved radiocarbon dating are allowing us to see through the fog of time with more clarity than ever before. We can now pinpoint the age of a single piece of charcoal with incredible accuracy. This precision is what allowed the Idaho discovery to be so definitive. We are no longer guessing about the past. We are measuring it. This transition from speculation to measurement is what is driving the current revolution in our understanding of history. As we look at the history of the Americas, we must now recognize that it began much earlier than we thought. The 16,000-year mark is a new milestone, but it might not be the last. As we look deeper, we might find even older evidence. The lesson of Cooper's Ferry is that we should never assume we know the whole story. The Earth always has more secrets to reveal, and the human story is always more complex and more wonderful than we can imagine. The true origin revealed in Idaho is a story of bravery, Think of the families who stepped into those boats and sailed toward an unknown horizon. They didn't know what they would find. They didn't know if they would survive. But they went anyway, driven by the same curious spirit that drives us today to explore the deep ocean and outer space. We are the descendants of those explorers. Their courage is in our bones. The Idaho site is a monument to that courage, a reminder of what we are capable of when we dare to look beyond the horizon. In the classroom, the Clovis first theory is being replaced. Teachers are now telling the story of the maritime explorers, the Kelp Highway, and the ancient people of the Salmon River. This is a vital change. It gives students a more accurate and a more exciting view of their own history. It shows them that the history of their land is deep, complex, and full of adventure. It encourages them to ask their own questions and to explore the world around them with the same curiosity as the people of Cooper's Ferry. The artifacts from the site are now being carefully preserved and studied in labs. Each stone point is a work of art, a testament to the skill of an ancient craftsman. These objects connect us to the everyday life of the past. They remind us that history isn't just about big events and famous people. It's about the person who spent an afternoon chipping a piece of stone to make a tool. It's about the daily struggle and the daily joy of being alive. The Idaho discovery has also sparked a new interest in local history and archaeology. People in the Salmon River Valley are realizing that they live in one of the most important archaeological regions in the world. There is a new sense of pride and a new commitment to protecting the land and the secrets it holds. This community engagement is vital for the long-term conservation of our historical heritage. When people understand the value of the past, they are more likely to protect it for the future. As we reflect on what was found in Idaho, we see a world that was both very different and very similar to our own. The environment was colder, the glaciers were larger, and the animals were different. But the people were the same. They had the same needs, the same fears, and the same hopes. They loved their families. They worked hard to provide for them, and they looked at the stars with wonder. Finding their home in the Idaho Canyon is like finding a long-lost relative. It brings our history into sharper focus and makes our world feel a little bit smaller and a little bit more connected. The Salmon River Canyon is a quiet place today, but 16,000 years ago, it was a hub of human activity. It was a place of innovation and adventure. It was the beginning of the American story. The discovery at Cooper's Ferry has given that story a new beginning, a new origin, and a new meaning. It has shown us that our true origin is one of seafaring, and our history is as deep and as powerful as the water itself. So the next time you look at a map of the United States, look at that rugged corner of western Idaho. Think of the river that flows through the heart of it, and the canyon that holds the secrets of 16,000 years. Remember the people of Cooper's Ferry, the brave explorers who rewrote American history. Their story is our story, and it is a story that is only just beginning to be told. The Earth has given up one of its greatest secrets, and the result is a deeper, richer, and more wonderful understanding of who we are and where we came from. The true origin of the first Americans is no longer a mystery of the land bridge, but a saga of the sea. It is a story of a journey across the Pacific, down the icy coast, and up the great rivers of the West. It is a story that began in Idaho but belongs to the whole world. And as we continue to dig, to measure, and to explore, we can be sure that there are many more secrets waiting to be found, many more chapters to be added to the incredible epic of human history in the Americas. The discovery at Cooper's Ferry hasn't just changed the past, it has illuminated our path into the future, reminding us of the enduring power of human curiosity and the unbreakable spirit of exploration that defines us as a species. They saw the canyons, the rivers, and the endless sky long before anyone else. They were the original pioneers. By uncovering their story, we are finally giving them the recognition they deserve. We are acknowledging their place at the very beginning of the American experience. Their legacy is all around us, in the land they loved and the river that still carries their memory. Idaho has revealed its secret, and American history will never be the same. The true origin of a continent has been found, and it is more spectacular than we ever dared to imagine. As research continues, we look forward to what the next layer of sediment will reveal. For the biologists, archaeologists, and historians involved, the journey is far from over. Each season brings new possibilities, and each find brings us closer to the truth. The story of our origins is a work in progress, And Idaho has just provided the most exciting chapter yet. We are all witnesses to a revolution in science, and the results are rewriting the very foundation of what it means to be American. The ancient people of Cooper's Ferry are finally speaking, and the world is listening.